Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? And welcome back to the final segment of this installment of interviews with my man, David Webb of Hamilton Computer Repairs on Park Avenue in Worcester. Yeah?
Yep.
All right. So if you need any of your devices, computers repaired, I keep trying to get you to go into other devices, but you told me you don't do phones. Computers repaired, make sure you go and hit up David Webb at Hamilton Computer Repairs. And yeah, so time flies when we're having fun.
Yeah.
We're near the end. I don't want to be near the end. But before we find out your address and your socials and how people socials, you like that English? How people can reach out to you. Give me a little bit more the right to repair and why it's so important to all of us, and not just small businesses, but consumers.
Sure. So this is at its core a consumer rights issue. This is about being able to own your devices and maintain them. In one of our earlier segments, we briefly talked about how computers used to be. With right to repair, I like to take it back to how appliances used to be. You take off a single large panel on the side of it, usually a single Phillips head screwdriver or a turn knob. And on the inside of that panel, there's a clear-cut schematic that tells you what components are in there and where they go. And this is important because, then you can figure out what you need, and you probably would have gone to Radio Shack, and then you could just replace it, and problem solved. Something that you paid a obscene amount of money for a decade ago is now good for another 5 to 10 years, the way it should be, because you bought it once, and now you can maintain it. So the alternative, and this is what, like most rights that have to be fought for, it's because we don't currently have it. The alternative is planned obsolescence.
People taking advantage of loopholes, really.
Yeah. No. Loopholes are it's the opposite. There's not a rule preventing this. There
is no loophole. They're just taking advantage of this situation.
Yeah. Well, so yes and no. They've created the situation. We are at this point because it's been 10 years. We essentially tapered to this point. In fact, I really think it started with the cell phone carriers and the 2-year, because instead, let me put it this way. We're not hearing upgrade eligible for an upgrade anymore. We're hearing your battery's dying. Yeah. But it's the same thing. It's time to get a new phone, not because I need a new phone, but because someone else says it's time for you to buy a new phone.
Mm-hmm. Is that battery thing real? I've heard that batteries...
I'm going to stop you because I've got a great succinct story here.
Okay.
My technician's roommate connected his phone through a VPN, which pretty much means using a software to tell his phone that it was somewhere else geographically. To be in, I think he chose Sweden, but somewhere in Europe. And his battery life extended 30%.
Stop playing with me.
I'm about
to go get a VPN right now.
Well, so you're on Samsung. They might not be throttling you.
Listen, I stay stuck. I'm tethered to a plug all day, and it annoys me because it wasn't like that when I first got the phone. And now it's I think they killed my battery because they want me to go buy a new phone.
Well, so I don't think it's necessary. So one, it's your phone starts using more as you use it more. So this isn't just a you thing. And I do think this is by design. I have never had a phone that the battery lasts, honestly, even 2/3 as good after a year of use. So you have to acknowledge, one, batteries should be designed to be replaceable on all devices. Batteries fail. This is not a new thing. It's just usually we account for this with having user-accessible batteries. They only stopped doing that 7 or 8 years ago. We used to be able to take off the back of the phone and just swap it out.
Right.
And, all smart tech people who had that experience would have bought, on Amazon for $30, a generic you could get 2 batteries and a wall charger.
Yeah.
And then you just swap it out throughout the day. Right. And, sure, you might go through 3 batteries in a day, but you are on your phone all day.
Right. And I will say one of the things that I heard companies were not complaining about, but I guess protecting themselves about were faulty third-party
Yes
parts.
And no. So if a company, you have to realize that they're saying things are going to go bad if you replace it with a cheap battery. That's only because they put in chips.
Fail-safe
software.
Yeah.
Things might go bad, but that's because they created their devices to only work with their stuff. They
and what
designed
about a phone exploding? Is that a real thing?
I mean, it's happened, but it's because of manufacturer design, not third-party things. I've never seen you put in a bad battery and a phone explodes. No.
Okay. Those are some of the things I was afraid of, so I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, well, so honestly, it's that's one of the not explosions, but something going wrong in repair is one of the things they're concerned about, and that's why they have made it difficult for these devices to be repaired, because they know that people are concerned and wary of the unknown, and so they have made it even less known.
Right.
So right to repair is the fight against planned obsolescence, and it is forcing manufacturers to provide access manuals and access to parts. So in other words, so that if your phone dies, you can get not just instructions on how to get access to your battery, but also so you can actually order the battery. Because that's really the thing. It's like, who cares about third-party things being dangerous? That wouldn't be a concern if we didn't have to use third-party things.
I mean, there's that, right?
That's
Everything
what I'm
starts
saying.
at the root.
That's what I'm saying. When I say this, they created this problem. Like, sure, there are concerns with repair. But the reason those concerns exist is because these devices are not designed to be repaired.
Okay. And what do you say to the argument that, we're trying to protect our property? If I give you everything you need to know to repair, how do I know it's not going to get into the wrong hands where now bootlegging is happening?
Yeah. So two parts to that. One, it's not their property. You're talking about their intellectual property, but that's an important distinction here because then they can encode it. I think there was you can put DRM, it's a whole other series of limiting things. But the fact of the matter is that's a bullshit distraction point on their end. Yeah.
Not an excuse, a distraction. That's why, yeah.
It's a red herring. It's a deflection. You could absolutely have a whole series of conversations on it. But the fact of the matter is, they're not actually concerned about piracy. They're concerned about not getting paid for something. So for example, with iPhones, one of the big arguments was, people will figure out how to jailbreak it. And so the big concern with jailbreaking phones is, sure, it's technically insecure in the same way Windows is insecure. It's no longer, Apple's walled garden. But also, more importantly, then people can install pirated apps. So they're not concerned about, people stealing your information. They're concerned about people getting things that they didn't pay for. Yeah. This all comes down to corporations will lose money. Yeah. I testified. So this is actually the second time we've introduced this bill in Massachusetts. The last time, so this bill is different because it doesn't involve anything about agriculture or medical devices, where the biggest lobbyists are. You have to recognize, when it comes down to it, this is actually, cell phones and computers, while it does affect almost everyone, is the smallest aspect of right to repair. Agriculture. John Deere is the loudest voice against this. About that. Yeah, well, so
people are literally cracking their John Deeres open to bypass the computer system because they will not release that software information.
Yeah,
that's
and so people
Tesla was doing something with that too.
Yep. Yeah. So it's all these software locks to prevent people from working on it, and the reason they don't want them working on it is
safety.
I mean, they're talking about emissions thing, but it was funny because all of the people complaining about possible emission concerns were, if people did what they were talking about, it's illegal. The emission regulations exist. Right. And these people, anyways, that's just one way this can go bad. Yeah, and here's all of these other things that are actually good for the consumer. Right.
Yeah, I heard with Tesla, they were concerned about speed and stuff like that. And it's like, well, there's consequences for that.
Yeah. If so what you're saying is you're concerned people are going to break the law and you think it's on you to stop that?
Right. Right.
I don't know. There's totally reasonable limitations to add. My drone won't let me go up if I'm right next to an airport. There's understandable software.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to interfere with air traffic.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
what can you do with a John Deere that's really harmful?
No, their main concern is emissions. That's the only one they kept bringing it up. But it was...
Oh, so now we care about our climate. Funny how convenient that is, huh?
Right. No, but that's even what's part of what makes it better is the people who are there are John Deere sales reps, people who are John Deere repair centers. It's the people who will be affected financially if negatively by this. And they're not even ashamed about this. They admit that this will affect them with sales and their anyways,
but will it really though? I mean, we're talking about John Deere, Tesla, Apple, Samsung, some of the biggest, I can't even say it, businesses, corporations in the world. Are they really gonna lose that much of their bottom line? Or
so you have to keep in mind, it's not about their bottom line; it's about the RMR. This is about the subscription plans for access to that knowledge and parts. Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, this will force. This is what the reason we want right to repair is because it will force these companies to adjust their business model towards planned obsolescence. Towards repairability.
Bro, it's greed. They're being greedy. They're being greedy. $800 a phone, and that's on the cheap end.
But
You know how
I
many
would
millions
pay,
of people have these phones?
but who the hell cares about $800 a phone if it lasted 5 years?
No, I mean, I care in that they don't need my RMR. They really don't.
Well, but the RMR is not for the phone unless you're on a payment plan for it. It's for any data plans, payment protection plans. Their monthly recurring revenue is to use their products. Like, it's all the people who are paying.
So as you said in the beginning, we don't really own our products.
Yeah, we're just leasing them until they die.
We own them, yeah. Wow.
And so that's what we're trying to fix, because I don't think right to repair getting passed will make a difference next year or the year after. But in about 5 or 6 years, when we've had 5 years of companies releasing the access to the parts, you'll be able to have something from that first year, and there will be warehouses full of what you need to keep it running.
Yeah.
And then you can continue using your devices.
I was afraid of gun lobbyists. I was afraid of pharmaceutical lobbyists, and now I got to be afraid of computer lobbyists.
Oh, no, never mind computer lobbyists, video game lobbyists. They're the ones talking about piracy.
I love video games.
The most prominent. So it was funny because when I testified about this, then there were a bunch of people in suits talking about the money and trying to throw around numbers about how this was going to affect the company they represented and the industries they represented. Sony was one of the louder ones. Sony, John Deere, Apple doesn't even bother in this fight because at this point they're kind of ahead of everything. They're winning it, wow. Which is really something worth acknowledging. We are this is a right that we have to fight for because we do not have it, and all these companies are. This is why they're winning. They don't need to do anything. If we keep going exactly as we are, these companies are thrilled.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to be louder about this. Which brings me to the action points. What I need people to actually do to help with this.
Yes.
Contact your state representative. So Google, find my representative. One of the first few links is going to be find my legislator. It's a Massachusetts.gov website. Enter your address. It'll give you 2 people with contact information. Call and email both of them. Tell them why you care about right to repair and why they should. And that's literally it. We just need enough people doing that people in the Senate and House are aware of it. Because you have to realize, while there's a lot of loud voices against this is common sense. This actually makes sense for everyone, and it's also bipartisan. This is a really simple consumer rights issue that once people think about and are aware of, there's really not many good arguments against, except it'll cost some corporations a bunch of money because they have to change the way they're doing business. So if you want to help with this, contact your state representative in the next week or few.
David Webb, such a loaded topic. We can go on for hours. Actually, as a matter of fact, we hope
someday
to talk again some more about it. Not only on your show, but I'd love for you to come back to interviews and we could talk some more and, let people know exactly what it is they're dealing with their own lives and their own, what they think they own. But man, time flies and we got to go. So
this was great. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming. Just let everybody know where they can find you and how they can take advantage of your services.
So Hamilton Computer Repairs on Facebook and Instagram, hamiltonrepairs.com. We are located at 458 Park Ave in Worcester, open 11 to 6, Tuesday through Friday. And you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at David fucking Webb.
If you can't remember that. Listen, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you for joining me on another installment of Interviews. I'm Manny.
And this is David Webb.
This is Interviews. We'll be back and we'll see you real soon.